Hello, dear friends. It doesn't matter what some people think of you. Always keep singing your own song. Time will prove you are right if you are right, or else it will force you to rectify and learn your lesson. Opinion piece. Turning point. Unexpected twists and turns are foreseen. This is the point of greatest tension. We are at the crux of the tragedy. After the climax comes the denouement. The denouement brings solution to the problem. The biggest change would be between 2020 and 2025. The planetary transition took 3 centuries. We are about to complete the transition. Let's start. Although not visible to everyone, we are at the inflection point of all known systems according to vital force. In geometry, the inflection is the point of a curve at which its curvature changes direction. The inflection point of a narrative work is the climax or not, its point of greatest tension and drama, and is the moment in which the action begins, during which a positive solution to the problem is given, or as grandmother stories used to say at the end, stories or tales, in quotes, and they were happy and ate partridges, and they didn't give me because they didn't want to. Just as water turns into ice or steam with a small variation in temperature, the same happens in social systems. As happened in the Chilean social explosion, there are moments in which a slight quantitative increase in variable of existing causes a qualitative change in that system. The expression inflection point also refers to the unexpected turns that the situation takes, a change of direction, which can go in one direction and then in another, or even turn 180 degrees, and which can have the particularity that if they followed one direction, this can turn the other way around and start from zero. The expression also implies that at the turning point, you have to look for the sense of things at that point, considering that the point where the unexpected turn occurs is the starting point for another completely different situation. Look for meaning in what you do, which will always be better than doing things that make sense. The planetary transition is about to be completed after 3 long centuries. The most important changes are happening now in this decade, especially between 2020 and 2025. We understand that many still do not perceive anything, because it is all a matter of consciousness and frequency. The changes between 3D and 5D are only visible to those who expand their consciousness to higher frequencies. A consciousness that is stuck in 3D will never perceive or understand anything that vibrates in 5D. It's not for everyone. Change is not for everyone because it is a perception. It would be like standing at the foot of a mountain and wishing you could see the view on the other side. Those who cling to the top can see, describe and understand what is there. Those who do not cling to the top do not understand anything, because they do not have the perception of the reality that exists on the other side. Change is always an opportunity to get rid of something useless and add something new and better. It is change that promotes the evolution and progress of everything. If there were no change, everything would always remain the same. That is, static indefinitely. The evolution of the worlds and their humankind is only possible through constant movement. Everything is in a spiral, from the Milky Way star planet and even the direction of winds. storms or ocean currents, to the energies that sustain life. Life wouldn't exist without motion. Do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. At the end of this planetary cycle, there is also an increase in the Ascension of Souls who have incarnated here on Earth. There will be great opportunities for those who have finished developing their consciousness. It is estimated that at the end, just before the transition, 1/3 of humankind will be ready. They are the ones who will inherit the new Earth. Now will be a time of abundance for all who recognize the concept of value. With the removal of the wealth controllers, prosperity finally comes to all who are ready at their level of cooperative consciousness. They will be the beneficiaries of abundance. Many understand that abundance and prosperity are only related to the financial aspect. This is a misconception because abundance encompasses the whole. Money would be only one aspect of abundance. Complete satisfaction in the emerging time, whether it is professional, in relationships, in perfect health, and yes, also in finances, is all in the abundance package. It would do no good to have a good bank balance and be unhappy in other things. I know many rich people unhappy. We have said before that the universe is an excellent administrator of things. It collects, but it also knows how to give back. The universe abounds in those who cooperate. From now on, we are witnessing the end of competition to give way to cooperation. Those who are not attuned to the new frequencies will find it very difficult to remain on this planet. Quantum computing. Quantum systems are already in operation, and no humankind's action will go unnoticed and evaluated by them. For example, the quantum financial system, QFS, is already in operation and can track all money flows in real time. Being a quantum system, it cannot fool anything or anyone. This quantum computer will certainly bring the abundance to come from now on. There is no mistake. Everyone will be rewarded according to his deeds. Thus, there will be abundance for all who recognize values. This means that all those who vibrate in good conduct and honesty will receive this abundance. That is, all those who practice what is meant by ethics and morality. Nothing could be fairer. But those who indulge in evil, who practice injustice or profit from their own cause, will have nothing at all. All new systems change everything, including currency revaluation. Illegal money will not be exchangeable, therefore, and will be worth nothing. It will not even be usable as toilet paper. The new poor will be those sitting on mountains of money with no intrinsic value. There will be desperate and may even become dangerous at some point and try to take revenge, but they are not likely to succeed, not even for a moment. The swindlers will no longer be able to cheat. This is the end of the dark side crooks. The quantum system has already been activated and put into action. Now it is only a matter of time before everything shows itself. However, not everyone sees the new reality. Consciousness that is trapped in the third dimension cannot understand the new 5D reality. It will only be visible to those who are already on the frequency leading to the new Earth. So there is no point in arguing between 5D minds and 3D minds. Just understand that everything is in motion and will not stop the wheel until it reaches its destination. Economy. First, Fed raises interest rate and blames Russia. approves the first of 7 planned rate hikes in an effort to control inflation. The new rate will be between 0.25% and 0.50%. Second, big tech stocks rose to the highest since April 2020 after the Fed embarked on a modest rate hike. Third, Wall Street put war-induced losses behind it and ended with significant gains in all 3 of its benchmarks. Fourth, foreclosures are on the rise. Fifth, the dollar is a huge black hole, says one expert. Sixth, they forecast the next scenario. It is forecasted a scenario that could usher in the end of the dollar era. Seventh, Fauci studies the possibility of more sanitary blockades. Rumors of wars. First, US could disconnect Russia from GPS. Second, US should dialogue with Russia and address Ukraine crisis. China's Xi tells Biden. Third, US quietly backs down on Russian oil ban. Senate are likely to pass restrictions. Fourth, the Clinton Foundation's connection to Ukraine is documented in a chart of donations published in the Wall Street Journal. Fifth, task force searches for Russian treasure in the West, billions of dollars in assets seized. Australia, Canada, and the European Commission, Germany, Italy, France, Japan, and the UK and the US agreed to increase cooperation to sanction Russia. Sixth, US economic sanctions against Russia scare even its allies. It's the end of the dollar era near. Is the end of the dollar era near? Saudi Arabia doesn't trust the dollar the same way it did a month ago. Seventh, brace for a global oil supply shock. Russia could shut down 30% of its crude production from April if it can't find buyers. Eighth, Canada says it has exhausted its stockpile of weapons to help Ukraine. 9. Neutral Ukraine would be better than a protracted conflict, writes David T. Pine, former Defense Department official. Europe. First, Ukraine legalizes cryptocurrencies to raise war money. Second, European Union moves to isolate Russia over its war in Ukraine. Third, Poland proposes a total ban on European trade with Russia. Fourth, Poland announces the de-Russification of its economy. Fifth, US allies in Europe discuss using sites from Russian elites to help Ukraine. Sixth, march in honor of Nazi veterans returns to Latvia. Seventh, Bulgaria will not send military aid to Ukraine. Eighth, Bulgarian citizens express their support for Russia on the street. 9. Italian lawmakers want to invite Putin to parliament after Zelensky. 10. Europe widened its trade deficit in January because of energy imports. 11. US allows more natural gas supplies to Europe, which is facing an energy crisis as it seeks to reduce dependence on Russian supplies. Germany. First, Germany expresses concern about gas suppliers. Second, Germany doesn't have sufficient reserves to give up Russian gas according to its economy minister. Third, the German Minister of Agriculture calls on the population to eat less meat so that Russia doesn't use its export power as a weapon. Other countries. First, Switzerland is ready to host negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. Second, Swiss banks reveal how much Russian money they have, hidden more than 2 $100 billion. Third, another Cold War would be costly for everyone. In quotes. Turkey calls on the West to consider Russia's interest in a new security architecture. Fourth, French actor Alain Delon decides to end his life through euthanasia. 5. Pope Francis wants that Ukraine would lead to a final catastrophe that could extinguish the humankind. The only thing left for him is to spread fear. The dark side's agenda was to get rid of 90% of humankind. Henry Kissinger described 90% as useless eaters, in quotes. The remaining 10% would have been enslaved to work for the elite. The good news is that the plan has failed. Russia. First, Bank of Russia announces its economy restructuring in the face of sanctions. Second, the war binds Russian central bankers who watch the demise of the economy. Third, the Russian economy is undergoing a large-scale structural transformation to cope with the impact of sanctions, which means a period of uncertainty, the Bank of Russia said. Fourth, Russia will respect private property unlike the West. There are no plans to nationalize foreign assets in the country. Fifth, Russia sells live with missiles launched from the Black Sea, according to Kiev. Sixth, Russia switches to a strategy of attrition and uses the hypersonic Kinzhal missile for the first time. Seventh, Russia wants that some naval mines laid by Ukraine in the Black Sea are adrift. Eighth, hundreds of bombs placed by the Ukrainian army near ports may reach the Bosphorus. Ninth, Lavrov on peace negotiations, in quotes. The Ukrainian delegation is led by the hand by the US and is not allowed to accept the minimum demands. 10th, nationalists prepare provocations with toxic chemicals in Ukraine, according to Russia. 11th, an officer of the Ukrainian Security Service reveals plans to attack Lviv. 12th, Russia is considering resuming serial production of its own airliners as a solution to sanctions. 13. Russia celebrates the day of reunification with Crimea. This March 18, 2022, Russia celebrated the 8th anniversary of the reincorporation of Crimea with big celebrations and events. Spain. First, Spain has granted 7,571 temporary protections to people displaced by the war in Ukraine. Second, Spanish buses arrive in Poland to transport 400 Ukrainian refugees. Third, Spain urges to improve its energy interconnection with the rest of Europe. Fourth, Spain gives in to Morocco and considers the autonomy proposal for the Sahara as the most realistic basis, in quotes, for settling its territorial dispute. Fifth, the Polisario Front accuses Sanchez of succumbing to blackmail by Morocco. Americas. First, Mexico will increase its crude oil production by 100,000 barrels per day this year. Second, spring equinox in Mexico. Every early spring, the archaeological site of Teotihuacan is visited by thousands of people who come to recharge their energy at the top of the pyramid of the sun. Third, the president of Argentina announces a price stabilization fund to combat inflation. Fourth, Argentina is confident that the agreement with the IMF will receive the organization's definitive endorsement. Fifth, Havana seeks alternatives to evacuate Cubans stranded in Russia. Sixth, Bolivian Marraqueta is spared for now from the crisis in Ukraine. The popular marraqueta, also known as battle bread, will remain available to Bolivians indefinitely, with no change in size or price, despite increase in wheat prices worldwide due to the conflict. 7. 4 Disney employees and a retired judge among 108 arrested in human trafficking crackdown. More than 100 individuals arrested in a macro operation against human trafficking. Agents identified adults they believed were communicating inappropriately with minors. Asia. First, Japan presses India to denounce Russia. Second, Japan to invest $42 billion in India projects. Third, India buys more Russian oil despite threats. Fourth, Indian oil companies buy millions of barrels of oil from Russia. Fifth, India can take advantage of Big Pharma cutting ties with Russia. Sixth, Russia resumes its export of rough diamonds to India. Both sides are trying to pay in rupees and rubles. Seventh, India may become a key player in the wheat market due to the conflict in Ukraine. Eighth, the world's largest free trade pact comes into force in Malaysia. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership encompasses 15 Asia-Pacific countries and will account for 30% of the world economy. 9. Suppressing muscling enthusiasm for Putin in Indonesia. 10. Iran circumvented economic sanctions. Iran built a covert financial system to trade with foreign countries despite sanctions. Western diplomatic and intelligence sources have revealed to the Wall Street Journal that Iran was able to circumvent economic sanctions with a parallel financial system. 11. The US estimates that there are 2,000 Islamic State militants and 100 Al-Qaeda militants in Afghanistan. 12. The IMF warns that the war in Ukraine means a famine for Africa, as well as a lower growth and higher inflation for the rest of the countries. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.